JJK fans need some answers. As I'm sure a majority of you guys know at this point, Jujutsu Kaisen is announced to be ending in 5 chapters. And these are the things I feel like we need answers for before the end of the series. And buckle in, guys, because this video is going to be a long one. And for me, the number one thing is going to be about Gojo. Is he coming back or not? I'm just playing. What I really want to know is what the heck is going to go on with Yuta inside of Gojo's body. Is he actually going to live on the rest of his life inside of Gojo's body, or is he going to be unalived alongside Gojo? I feel like a lot of people are talking about Hikari and Arame, and rightfully so, but it's surprising to me how many people haven't brought up the conclusion for Yuta. Which of course brings me to my next point that I already mentioned, what the heck are Hikari and Arame doing? It's literally become a running meme at this point to figure out that these two are just on a date while everyone else is throwing their lives away. And unironically, considering his current partner, this is something that would actually be possible for Hikari, if Arame wasn't just so desperately obsessed with Sukuna. And the next one is, what the heck is going to happen to Jujutsu Society? Remember, before the battle even started, Gojo went to every single higher up and unalived them on the spot. And now that Principal Gakuganji had actually changed, he said he would be a great person to lead Jujutsu Society now. Presumably next to one of the only other teachers they have left, Utahime. And I say Utahime because even though Mei is around, I'm not sure Mei is much of a teacher as it is. Which just leads to even more questions about Jujutsu Society. Now that Maki has unalived the entire Zenin clan, how is that also going to affect Jujutsu Society? Now certain things like what's going to happen to Megumi and about Sukuna's last finger were obviously going to get answered, so I'm not going to include those. At least not in grave detail, because we all know these are definitely questions we need answered. Now, a big thing that people say they need answered, but I kind of disagree with, is the merger. People are saying they need to know what the merger looks like, but why? I've said this in the past, but I feel like this is a narrative that people kind of came up with in their own head. And that's that the merger would have to happen, and we'd have an entirely separate arc for that. But I always kind of saw it more like a ticking time bomb that the heroes would have to stop. Because for the merger to happen, everyone would have to be unalived. And if that's going to be the case, how would the story progress from there? I feel like it'd be weird to see a giant merger being battling Sukuna, and that's going to be the end of JJK. So for me personally, I never really thought it was a need to see the merger happen or to get an explanation for the merger. We just know that that was Kenjaku's plan, and they were trying to actively stop Kenjaku's plan, like a ticking time bomb. Another one that people bring up is Sukuna's backstory, but for me personally, I don't feel like we need this. I feel like Sukuna plays his role perfectly with us having ambiguity of his backstory. I don't think we need to know as to whether he's a sympathetic villain or what he went through in the high-end era for us to understand who he is and what his intentions are in the current era. Because we understand enough. We understand that he fights for himself and only himself and for pleasure only. Do we need to know more about his parents and his livelihood to kind of understand that perspective or that perception of him? I don't think so personally. And for me, those are the main things that I feel like I need answered, while also addressing things that I feel like aren't necessary to get answered for it to be a good and complete story. Again, for how it's going to end and how Yuji's going to defeat Sukuna, whether Megumi will survive, what the last finger is about, all that is going to be answered, so I'm not really going to go into detail about that. While I, of course, have my own concerns as to how he's going to wrap all of this up in just 5 chapters, I do think there's less that we need answered than most people actually think, but of course, that's just my own personal opinion. If you feel like those things, such as the merger, are necessary, then of course, by all means, that's a valid opinion. But for me, it seems more likely that he could wrap everything up in 5 chapters if we don't include those things because they're not necessary. But even with us just trying to figure out what exactly is going to happen with Yuta, with the Zenin clan, the restructure of Jujutsu Society, and everything else of that nature, including the fingers and Megumi's potential ending, that is still a lot to put into 5 chapters, so that's where my concern comes in. But at the end of the day, I am an avid JJK fan, and I have criticized Akutame's writing in the past when I didn't agree with it. But I always still give him the benefit of the doubt and hope that at the end he's going to produce something that I will enjoy. So I will hold the exact same mindset for the announcement that there's only 5 chapters left. But like usual, let me know what you guys think about everything that I've addressed here, and is there anything else you think that we're missing or that does need to be answered?